Hello, my name is Andrea Hylen. I am the founder of Heal My Voice, and I'm recording this for the Hay House community writing book proposal. I'm submitting a book proposal, and my book is called Carving a New Path, Transforming Loss and Grief Through Writing and Women's Circles with Self-Help Tools and Practices. First, let me tell you that the book is, I consider it a self-help book that is divided into two parts. The first part is the journey of the self, with 14 of my personal stories of trauma, loss, challenge, healing, and awakening. And the first part of the book, you could say, is kind of an anthology style. Although because all the stories are my own, it does build, and you can see a connection between something that happened and then the next thing that happened. But I've really written them as individual stories. And at the end, I list tools that I used during the healing process of that particular story. And there are reflective questions for the reader to explore their own life. Excuse me. To listen in to their higher wisdom and to use it as a self-reflecting. The second part is about 10 Heal My Voice circles of women. Small circles, 20 women approximately in each circle, who wrote their own personal stories of trauma, loss, and grief. I started Heal My Voice and developed a 9-month program for women to write a story that, the way I would describe it is, they may have arrived in the circle thinking that they knew the story they were going to write. So, for instance, I thought the first story I would write was about the birth and death of my son and his physical illness. He died at 19 months. And I thought I had processed that story so much to learn the gifts and the lessons and what he gave me during that time, as well as other people, that I thought that's the story I'm going to write first. But something else happened. There was a song, Mr. Rogers, singing in my head. I would wake up with it in the morning with, it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. And as I remembered that time in my life, which was years before my son was born, it was when I had two little girls, two daughters. And I remembered his words, I love you just the way you are. And those words and that time was the beginning of healing pain, healing emotional pain that I had from my childhood, from my marriage, and it started me on a journey of self-love. So in the Heal My Voice circles, we helped women tune into the story that would best serve them right now to write. That's what I talk about in the second part, is women in circle. And at the end of the 9-month program, the women would write, we would do a Blog Talk Radio interview, and then we would talk about what's next. What is the next step in leadership now that you've reclaimed the power that was tied up in that story of pain? And at the end, I would put the stories into books, and these are some of the books of women's stories that I self-published on Amazon. I wanted women to be able to hold their story in their hands. And so that's basically what the book is about. The other thing is, I just want to riff for a moment about the evolution of this book. I self-published it, Carving a New Path. I self-published it in 2018, and I called it Heal My Voice, An Evolutionary Woman's Journey. Two things happened. One, I'm about to turn 65, but when I was about to turn 60, I started to think about my own death, and my death of realizing that my husband died at the age of 60. I had two very good friends die at the age of 60. and my uncle had died at 60. And it was an awakening of, whoa, I'm not going to be here forever. What is the legacy I have created in my life? And so I decided to take all the stories I had written in all the books for Heal My Voice, and I would put it into this book. And I put it in here so that when I die, my daughters have this history of the stories of their lineage, of what did their mother experience, and also what tools did she use to heal. And I wanted to leave them the toolbox. And so I created it as a legacy book. And in the second half, I did talk about the Heal My Voice circles, and I saw that as a kind of uh, I don't know, a yearbook, I guess you'd call it, for anyone who had been in the Heal My Voice um, books or projects. And there were 200 women from around the world. And so I really published it with that intention. And I felt complete. And I started offering another program through Heal My Voice. But then something happened with COVID. And when COVID started, and I began to see people's lives changing, and many of them not having the tools on how to navigate this time period, I decided to do a podcast. I did about 15 episodes called Carving a New Path. And I interviewed people, talking with them about something that broke down in their lives, and then how did they pivot? How did they shift? What was the gift that came out of a loss of a job, a loss of a home, a change in their business? What did they learn about themselves? What were they able to offer to the world? How did their lives improve because they went through the challenge? And I began to think about my book and wanting to rewrite the second section a little bit, to really be helpful about women's circles and the power of women being in circle, and how healing in circle is so supportive, hearing other people's stories. And so that's why I decided to submit the book proposal. I want to encourage women to write their own stories. I feel ready to take this to another level. I'd like to normalize conversations around failures and imperfections, to find the gifts, find the strengths, find the love, find the joy. And I'll just share one other thing, that one of the first stories I wrote about was living on the edge of eviction for 2 years. And when I began to publicly blog that's what I was going through in 2010 or 2011, I guess it was, I began to have women write to me privately, telling me about the shame they had about foreclosure and bankruptcy and eviction, and thanking me for talking about it so publicly. I would like to encourage women to be able to share those stories, to heal, but also to help to teach others that, why are we hiding these stories in order to create some perfection? We're at a time of great change in the world. And the more that we can be authentically ourselves and transparent, receive help, give help, offer help, that's why I'm submitting the book proposal, to have a platform to have these bigger conversations. I am an everyday, extraordinary woman who has navigated trauma, loss, and grief, and found joy in the world. Thanks so much for listening. Mwah.